I think Jamie Dimon had a quote like this where he said, "Nothing pays for anything like a growth strategy," which just really stuck with me because it's such a basic saying. But that's basically what you're saying too.
That's
Is
right.
is you know it's yeah, valuations are 15 times earnings, but you haven't grown your earnings for 10 years.
That's right.
And we talk about this internally about value and how yes, you can make money on value. Obviously, equal weight value's doing well this year. It just seems like it's always a trade, though. Do you agree with that, or do you think there is this longer lasting rotation to value that we're going to continue to see?
I do think that value, I think a lot, we look at portfolios all the time, and I do see a lot of investors that have just given up completely on the value side of the marketplace. And I think from an allocation perspective, you should have some value stocks. I think the name of the game is looking at valuations, but you've got to take into consideration growth rates. So I think the more reasonable strategy is growth at a reasonable price and trying to figure out what's a reasonable price. I just think that most companies that are on the value side of the marketplace, a lot of those companies, they tend to have low returns on capital. They tend to grow slower. The valuations are cheaper for a reason. And whereas growth companies, obviously, the key is just making sure you don't get carried away on the growth side and you just don't overpay. And I would rather pay up for a good company and then watch it, make sure that it doesn't fade and make sure that it continues to create shareholder value. I really don't care how it's classified, whether it's growth or value. I think that for the most part, markets are pretty efficient in terms of figuring out this is a good company and that's not a good company. We have had moments, though, over the years where the market gets carried away. And I think back to the pandemic, boy, there were a lot of these work from home companies that just got insanely valued, just really highly priced. And you're like looking at this pandemic, and I'm like, are we going to have a pandemic every year? It's like at some point we are going to get back to normal, you would think. But it's funny how conditions that we're in right now, oftentimes they don't persist. And the perception is, well, what we're going through right now, we're always going to be going through it.
The
So
new
we
normal.
so we tend to
Yeah.
Yeah.
extrapolate what's happening right now and think that this is how things are going to be forever. And it never is. It's just so investors, like it gets back to that whole thing of fading. At some point, there's going to be a fade, and you've got to be sensitive to that.